and I'll just turn this around. I just needed to make sure that Vicki could see. Yep. Right. Yeah, there's nowhere really that. We'll turn this way.
Yeah, because if it's here, the people who are here can hear it.
Yeah.
Hear you, and people they can hear the thing. If that makes sense.
So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Julia Ann. I've been writing for about 25 years. So I write mainly poetry, but my genre is creative non-fiction. I have got a series of books called The Secret Diary. So Secret Diary of an Entrepreneur is the first book, and it's about I had this vision to start a company, which was quite unusual for a plant molecular biologist to suddenly throw away a science career and leap into entrepreneurship. So it's a little bit about that story, and then weaving in my life and journey, with motherhood and then finding new love. It's I kind of write in a very honest, fresh style. And so in the second book is the year of COVID. So the first book is sort of the first 10 years. And then there's the Secret Diary of World War III Survivor is the working title. And the third book is tentatively called Secret Diary of a Woman. So that's me as a writer. I haven't actually published them yet. So I'm really, when I came back to Rotorua, I joined this club because I, got this burning desire to publish. So I lived in Rotorua for nearly 20 years, and then I went to Dunedin for 3 years because my partner's down there. And while I was there, I joined the Writers Club and was very involved in the writing community down there. So, and then I won't go into too much, but I've got a tourism company. We sell accommodation, but it wasn't going very well. And with COVID, I really looked in the mirror and I thought, who am I? And I thought, well, I'm a writer. Through it, my heart, everything is about writing. And so I thought, how can I bring the entrepreneurship and the writing together? So I applied for some Creative New Zealand funding and received some funding for an event called the Great Write-In. And it was very successful. It sold out. Basically, it was, I'll talk through what it was. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about that event because I'm having a similar one here in Rotorua. So I've got more creative funding for a second event. So I want to touch briefly on the first Great Write-In in Dunedin and tell you, how it kind of works, because we've now going to have another meeting in September, and there's an invitation for all of you to. I've still got quite a few gaps in the program, so I thought if I share what we're doing, then anyone who's interested in being involved in a writers event, writers festival in September. So that's kind of what we're going to do. Take about 20 minutes, and feel free to ask any questions as we go. So first of all, what's happened from that first event is that the Great Write-In in Dunedin, we became a community. So people came from all over New Zealand to come to this festival. And so we've got writers from Wellington, Rotorua, Hamilton, all over Christchurch, Invercargill, and then all over Otago. So the first point is that we are now a community. So from one fairly small event, we've got this nationwide community that meet every single month through a hybrid meeting, a bit like this. The other important thing is that we have got, any writers community needs the teaching or the tutors, and then also the writers, and we are held together by software. So I won't go into that detail, but it's a little bit tricky because I've got some photos here, but so basically, being a community and keeping in touch has really been the lifeblood of what I've been doing personally this last year or so. So very difficult to see. Sorry, we've got lots of press and photos and lots of excitement. So I was just going to show you some photographs of all of us sorry, I didn't think to put the projector, so a little bit forward, but just to say also that because Dunedin is UNESCO's City of Literature, we're very grateful for their support in advertising the event and, you know, providing a little bit of, you know, advertising and marketing support. So what was special about the Great Write-In is the whole idea was that a lot of people have got this giant idea of how to, you know, they want to write a story, but there's a big question mark of how they get that story into print. And so what we did was and most people take the long, slow, hard way. And so the Great Write-In is like a shortcut for writers to get to understand the process of writing. And what we did was we developed, was a collective of writers who helped with this. We developed a 7-step process to go from an idea right through to publication. And the 7 steps are starting with who, like who are you as a, you know, who is your writer's voice? Who are you writing for? And then who's the character? You know, who's the protagonist? Who's the story really about? And so the program, we start with, you know, really answering those questions. And all through the program, I've got tutors that I contacted who I thought would be the best people to teach that component, and I'll introduce some of those people in a few minutes. But first of all, so yeah, who, and then where is the story set? I mean, you guys will know all this, but it's just, but this program was really for people who are kind of on the edge of writing and have always wanted to write something but not quite sure where to start. So location, you know, setting the scene. And then we've got the why. You know, why is the story important? You know, what's driving it? It's the narrative drive. And really, so we sort of formularized this process by taking our writers to an Edwardian villa. And so there's a magnificent property in Dunedin called the Ulverston Historic Home. And so what we did is we sort of gamified, it wasn't just an ordinary festival, we sort of played a game where you had to create a character, choose a room, involve an object, and then write a story. And so the fourth component is how, like how can you create and we were just interested in the short story for that. And then we've got steps 5, 6, and 7, which is the editing and editors. Step 6 is formatting and publishing, and step 7 is sales and marketing. And so what we did was steps 1 through 4, we put into a program called the Great Write-In, which is sort of, you know, beginner writers. And then the second program, which is all around the editing, formatting, publishing, is called Publish Me. And so there's 2 separate programs that are all online that people can learn, take these masterclasses and lessons and follow the process. Yeah, so in terms of the masterclasses, the Who creating a character with Amy Scott. So Amy Scott talks about, in her masterclass, talks about authentic voice and really going through a process to create authentic characters. We've got Choosing a Room with Fiona Farrell. Now, Fiona Farrell is an award-winning author. Maybe you've read some of her books, but she's highly talented, and so she gives an amazing masterclass of, you know, all about the location and takes our writers through some exercises to help bring those settings to life. And we've got Catherine Chidgey for the next lesson, which is all around involving an object and why, what's the narrative drive. And she also gave a fantastic masterclass on, you know, really involving objects and actually giving them power for the story. So it's quite an interesting perspective. And then Writing Well, the masterclass on how to write a short story. So that's, you know, with plot points and then, you know, mapping things out. And with Diane Brown, who has her own creative writing school. Now, these were the people, when I looked around, you know, who would I want to teach? I was in Dunedin, so I was hoping that most of them came from Dunedin. But these are the top people, and they all said yes because not much was happening around that time. So, and then I've got a whole team of people, of publishers, bookshops, authors in the second program called Publish Me, and that Publish Me program is not quite complete, which is why part of why I'm here, because we need a few more voices to really share authors' stories. So who is this program for? So we deliberately made the Great Writing genre friendly. So at the first event, we had stories that were dystopian, we had non-fiction, we had poetry, we had a thriller, we had romance. And so the program is deliberately designed to be, right across all genres. And we've also made it really accessible to, we're genre and gender friendly. So we're thinking about the youth. So we're really inclusive of the rainbow community, and that's really important for being Pride Month. The program is accessible online, so it's suitable for writers who might be stuck at home anywhere in New Zealand. And also we've got a new scheme where community groups, writers, retirement villages all over New Zealand can access what's called a community license, and they can run a Great Writing event or festival using, it's just basically access to YouTube and the teaching program and all of the downloads, all the workbooks and creative things. So, and that could be a way to bring this program into writers groups all around New Zealand as a fundraiser for, for the community. So we really want to get this out into the community. And we've also got a program that's especially designed for retirement villages. So they're a lovely community, and in those communities, often people have always wanted to write something, but find, they just need a bit of help. So, and we're also hoping to take this, we're having our own festival in here in Rotorua, but it's also possible that parts of the program might be helpful for writers' festivals anywhere in New Zealand. We've created the program to appeal to individuals and groups. We've made it really cheap. It's not about making any money, but we do have to charge something to help cover the cost of the software, and of course we pay people delivering the masterclasses a small amount of money. So and we're just very cheap, and it's really fast. It's really inspirational. We've got lots of guides and information, starting with Ulverston Historic Home, but when we film here in Rotorua, there'll be with inspirational places. It's gives everyone access to a community, and of course it's very safe because not everyone is able to come out into these events. The other thing is, who is it made by? So the important thing was this program has been created by writers for writers, and that was really important, but it was backed by my company, which is called Look After Me. So I've got a team of developers, designers, a lot of software people, and what we get out of it is that when people travel to those events, they stay in our accommodation. So Look After Me is a bed and breakfast, homestay, holiday houses. So that's why, but with COVID, we took a nosedive and haven't had any income for 2 years, so that's tough. So we thought, well, how can we still, keep providing the service of looking after people, but creating a whole new range of experiences for writers. And we were lucky enough when we had the event in Dunedin, the sponsorship, people were so thrilled about this event. Like, Dunedin is such a literary city. I don't know, have anyone been to Dunedin? Yeah, there's poetry on the walls, there's poetry on the steps, it's unbelievable. It was such a shock. Being a writer, do you know why? Yeah, because it's New Zealand's only literary city. New Zealand city, so they have city of literature status. So there are 26 cities all around the world who have this special status for being a city of literature. And that means that the council puts on events for writers. They've got, there are about 15 different writers clubs in Dunedin. It's not a big city. I know, right? And so it's a thriving, and like on the back of parking tickets, there's poetry. Like and every second week there's someone publishing. It's unbelievable. So it's a thriving hub of literature. And so living there for 3 years, I was inspired by this incredible community who lives and breathes and celebrates literature in a way that I've never experienced. So I felt more reasonably confident to have a writers' festival in Dunedin, because I knew that people would love it and attend, and they'd write about it and help. And that's exactly what happened. So we're so happy that, bookshops, video, people, just everyone came on board to just help a little bit bring the community together. And so how it works is, what we did is we filmed and we held the event in Ulverston Historic Home in Dunedin. And this is a lovely photograph of, some of the writers. So I didn't know who would attend, but we had people aged 20 to 70. We had all sorts of nationalities, all sorts of ages and stages, men, women, and all sorts of genres. And they actually gave they scored the program a 9.3 out of 10, which was really encouraging to hear that not only was it well curated, but it was well received. And that's, that was great. I was really humbled by that. So we've got this writers community. We use an education hub. We use professional teaching software called Teachable. And why we've done that is because even though we had filming all the masterclasses, YouTube's great, but you need a platform where students who've never heard the program before can sign up and then go watch the videos of the masterclasses, download or the exercises, think about all the prompts, and then really put together a story. And so, for example, I put up a poster here at the village and one in the bookshop, and someone from Rotorua saw the poster, signed up, went through the program, and has written a really brilliant short story following this process. So even though it's a new program, we know that it works, and people anywhere around the world can just use the program, and it's super easy. Just the lessons, they just, as soon as you finish one, it just, it's purpose-built software for teaching people online. I think the program itself was inspired by Cluedo, and that's what we did. We, create a character, choose a room, involve an object, write a story, and more information. So if anyone wanted more information, I've got some pamphlets here, or just Google The Great Write. And I am going to give you guys free access to the program anyway. So what I'll do is I'll send out to the secretary the link, and it just please reply, because I have to enroll everyone. Anyone who wants to just contact me. I need I'm not going to, I have to manually give you access. So I'm not going to just give access to everyone, only for the people who want it. So if anyone wants, you have free access to the Great Writing, and you're most welcome to enjoy the program if it's helpful for you. I was going to show you a little bit what it looks like, but I don't have a screen. But basically, we've got a landing page, and there's a button where you can join the Great Writing, publish me, or there's coaching within all of our tutors. So it's all it's all set up, ready to go. It's really nice. I'll just whip through that. So we've also included our welcome with the mayor. So the mayor came along to welcome all the writers to Dunedin, and we've included, as best we can, access to Ulverston Historic Home, because that home was gifted to the people of Dunedin with their permission. We've created like a 183-page guidebook with all of the rooms, photographs of all the rooms, some information, historical information. some of the objects. And we've also got a video tour. It takes an hour videoing the tour. And it's the same as what all of our writers, when they came into that, they went on tour and they had this beautiful Edwardian high tea. So as best we can, we've captured that information. Lots of really beautiful rooms, the billiards room, the library, the dining room, the scullery. And so this was a real inspiration for our writers. So the beautiful thing about the program is at the beginning we say, here's Olston Historic Home, but actually if you live in Wellington, why don't you go to the Beehive? Or if you live here in Rotorua, we're going to be taking our writers out to the Bird Village. So the program, only part of it is inspired by a building. So Matamata, it could be Hobbiton, it could be, I've tested this program right around New Zealand, Oamaru, Christchurch, Dunedin, Larnock's Castle. So there's a whole lot of photographs of where I've been, the Christchurch Cathedral, just to sort of see if this would work. So I was just going to show you that there's lots of templates that you can download those. Fiona Farrell, this is just talking about the teaching program, so I'll go through that quickly. But they're very high quality videos. So we had a professional videographer recording all of the videos. So it's good. It's really good content. So lots of information. I was just taking you through all of the like these award-winning authors. I mean, they really know their stuff and sharing their talent and information. So they're really good people. So just to say, more than happy for you guys free access. I'll send, just let me know if you want access. And what I'm interested in, this is sort of the testing phase. So giving you access, and then what I really appreciate if anyone wanted to look at the program, but then just give me feedback and see where it could be improved, because that honest feedback is going to help improve it. So we are taking the program out to retirement villages from September, so we're not in any hurry, but it'd just be nice before we really take it out through the retirement villages or through other community groups, just to really invite people to enjoy the experience and see what you think, and exchange. So it's sort of like hopefully it's a win-win for everybody. And maybe if you know anyone who So the other thing that we've got in the program is we had to keep this event very small. So we only had 24 people because it was COVID level 2, and we needed everyone really spread out and everyone was seated and served. So we had to halve the capacity. But of those 24 people, 12 people, so it's 50%, submitted short stories. So what happened is they went away and they've got 3 weeks to write a story. And then we brought them all back. We had sort of an editing process and a judging process, and then we had a prize giving, and then we had the top writers sharing their stories. So on the program, we've also got, we gave them 21 days. We've got this other part of the teaching program, which is the community part, and that's where there's videos of our writers reading their stories out, and we hope that's inspiration for other people. So they're, really, for example, Grace McKenzie, her character was May. She, her story was set in the card room, and the object was an octagon table with an Arabic inscription. And so we've got links to her reading the story. We've got links to her story itself, and we've got a lot of testimonials there, so you can get to know the writers in the community. And what's lovely is that these writers, they turn up every month for our meeting. We've got a hybrid meeting, and it's really nice to see that they're still progressing. Some of them said they're a great writer and changed their life, so it was a really inspirational program. So photos of Kirsty and their prize giving. So I'll just flip through that. Yep. So yeah, that's yeah, and then following on from that, I moved back to Rotorua, and I thought, well, I wonder if we could have a writers' festival in Rotorua. So I applied to the Creative New Zealand the Creative Community Scheme, and I got a tiny little bit of funding to host an event here in Rotorua called The Great Write Away. Well, sorry, I've switched it around. I've got slides in here. So in order to help share this philosophy and to get the network sort of moving, we're offering writers' retreats called so we've got the Great Write-In, which is the school and the teaching, and then we've got a retreat, which is called the We Write Away, so encouraging writers from all around the world, so we're advertising through Melbourne and New York and all around New Zealand, to get writers to come to Rotorua, and they get a 7-day itinerary, so of right seeing. So they, on the Monday they talk, it's all around. It's a combination of using the same masterclasses, like who are you, who's your character, where are you, and so we actually got this itinerary where each day they go to a different place, and each day they listen to a different masterclass, and actually to try and inspire writers to come to Rotorua and enjoy our beautiful environment. And I think it was inspired because when I came back, I fell in love with the lakes again and the forest, and there's so much to offer here. And I thought, how can we really package that up? The beauty, and so this beautiful program. And so encouraging people to enjoy our hot pools and our eateries and also use our accommodation. So yeah, we've got a range of really beautiful holiday houses, self-contained units, bed and breakfast all around Rotorua, and people like the Buried Village have come on board, and Secret Spot and Polynesian Spa. So putting all the tourism operators together into this package. So if you know anyone who's a writer anywhere is looking for a really nice program, and we've got, it can be in a camper van, to ranging from camper van right through to the luxury lodges. So it's just a matter of getting people to come to Rotorua and enjoy our lovely scenery. I had a few photos of the accommodation. The We Write Away, we only launched it just a few weeks ago at Queen's Birthday weekend. So we are hoping it's a year-round, and this is something that will be part of our bread and butter part of business. So to singles, it's good for singles, couples, and small groups. So with the We Write In, people just request a quote, and so we then, because people want campers or they want bed and breakfast or self-contained, and there's slightly different pricing. So we've designed it mainly for solo writers. So we hope that there's a steady stream. Maybe it'd be great to have sort of 10 per month, that sort of thing, and that helps the accommodation providers, and it helps all the tourism operators supporting the program, but it's coordinated through us. So I don't know really. It's a brand new product. We've really just launched it just a few weeks ago. So yeah, I've just had 2 inquiries so far, and yeah, so but I haven't really done.
Excuse me, Julia, is it essential that you stay at the retreat, or could you come in daily because we live in Rotorua?
Oh, if you wanted to access the program, no, it's that program is accessible to locals as well. That's no, it's not essential that you stay. So if you wanted to do the whole the 7-day program, that's available. Yeah, but no, it's not. Yeah, so I haven't had to tweak a few things for locals, but yeah, because our core business is accommodation, we were thinking of inviting people to come and stay. But no, yeah, so
Still, others who wanted to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a really neat program. It's I've developed a 7-day itinerary, and that's similar to what we're doing for the festival, because it's a 7-day festival, which I'll talk about in a minute, because it's creating a lot of effort to create something, and how can you repurpose it for slightly different, for writers who might have slightly different needs. So yeah, so so we're just inviting people to request. It's a no obligation quote, and that way people can price accordingly. And then the other new exciting thing I wanted to talk about was this new festival. So we've got a new festival in Rotorua. So it's 7 days. It's between the Monday the 5th of September and Sunday the 11th of September. So it's 7 days. We've got 30 tutors, 15 different venues, and it will be a fully hybrid event. So we'll be inviting people to masterclasses, guest speakers, workshops, writing, sharing, sort of sightseeing. We've got tours. We've got a walking tour. So that's exciting. So I'd wanted to wait until the Kupu Māori Festival was last week. So we haven't really put anything out in the marketplace yet, because just out of respect for our colleagues running the Kupu Māori, it felt it would be a bit weird to have advertising two writers' festivals. It may have been a bit confusing. So from this week, we'll start to really, reach out to all the writers' groups around New Zealand. But I wanted to really reach out to you first. Like, I'm all about, who's in your own home community, and I've still got a few gaps in the program, you see. So I thought, well, the most obvious thing is to let you guys know this is happening. So, for example, Nikki Crutchley, who came, I've invited her. She was wonderful. So I immediately asked, and she's accepted my invitation. So I'm interested in letting you guys know, so that there might be an opportunity for you guys. So we've already got some great sponsorship from Te Wairua, the Buried Village, Secret Spot, the Trail Kitchen, Novotel, the Arts Village, the Redwoods, Canopy Tours, and a few restaurants, and a little bit of funding. It's not much, but it's a tiny little bit of which helps, the venue hire and speaker fees and that sort of thing. So this was to prompt me that every single day, we're limiting it just to 24. It's not a big, massive festival, not like Auckland or Dunedin. It's a very small, bespoke festival, only for 24 people, because we're 24 to 75. Some of the sessions, the community sessions, like at the library and at St. John's Church on the Sunday, they've got this magnificent community centre there. So on the weekends, we've got much larger.
So it's limited to 24 to 75 people.
Yeah.
Is that per event, or do those 24 to 75 people sign up for everything?
So we've got, and it's a great question. So we've got tickets. We've done it so you can buy a 7-day pass and go. And so there's only 24 of those. But we've got 99 passes for a 7-day. 99 for if you want to join by Zoom or the hybrid event. And then, so like, for example, we start the program at the lakefront. So we're going to have a dawn service with the mayor and locals talking about the beating heart of Rotorua storytelling. So that's that capacity is quite large. But then there's one or two venues where, so for example, on this Saturday afternoon, we've got a session in. Well, I've booked the whole village. This premises. So, for example, we might put theatre style, and then you might only get 24. And I didn't want to, or we might go down into Studio One. We've got options. So there's at least 3 or 4 hours here, which is this is quite a small room, really. So some of the places are a little bit limited. So different. So you can buy single sessions, single days. You can buy a day pass, a 3-day pass, a 5-day pass, or a 7-day pass. So we're hoping to attract writers from all around New Zealand and possibly from overseas. So and I've deliberately left gaps on the Saturday and Sunday. There are still 3 speaker spots available, which I've reserved for this conversation. And there's people in this room who've published. So Saturday, Sunday is all around the publishing process and self-publishing. So we've got Nikki Crutchley as one of our guests, but I've got the bookshops and I've got a publisher. But it would be great if anyone wants to volunteer and then talk about their stories and bring your books along. And there's a session on the Sunday morning which is good for children, which we might be interested in Tom. So I've got Jessica Newman, who's a Rotorua writer who wrote a book with a journey story. But you're really interested in, so if you think, oh, yep, I want to share my knowledge or share my wisdom, then please get in touch. And more than happy to have the session labelled as co-hosted by the Rotorua Writers Group, because that would also, raise our profile as though you came along to the Christmas party. But so anyway, so that's it. I'll send that information out. Tickets will be available. So yeah, it's all about looking after writers. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If I was going to, I'll send an email out just the details of the Great Write-In, and then a few links. Maybe you don't want the whole program, but there's a really popular session with Emma Neal, Edit Like a Pro. That's been really popular. So and the other thing is that with the Great Write Away, we're collaborating with the University of Auckland, and they're bringing technology called the Jitsu 360, which is it means that the people joining in by Zoom will be able to, they're the cameras that were used for Google Maps. And so the Buried Village, we're going to do pre-records in the Buried Village, so that will feel like that you're there. But so tourists, who might not be able to get to Rotorua can still enjoy the redwoods, and they can enjoy the Buried Village and the Kūrero Park and the lakefront. So there's some prime tourism spots around. So we're bringing in the very best of technology to help bring this event to life. So I'll leave it there because, and I've got some posters. These are early print versions. We've printed a few posters, but it'd be lovely to finalise the program. But just to say that we've got, we've already confirmed Shelley Davis from Rotorua, and we've got some really nice workshops. So if anyone's got anywhere that can put up a poster, that would be great.
For my group.
Oh, great. And so I'll leave it there because we've got, I wanted to take half an hour, so I'm done. Any questions?
Sounds most exciting.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's amazing what you're trying to do.
Thanks. Trying to save my business. But my heart, I really believe in this, and
Can be in that.
and they get to go to writers group. So I'll be I was in Dunedin for the June meeting. July I might be in Christchurch or Northland. So what I do is I just go around New Zealand, meet groups like this, and then we talk about the program, but then we have a lesson. So a bit of infomercial, and then like a May meeting we had was all about editing. People can bring along, we watch the masterclass on editing, and so every time it's about sharing knowledge, but just keeping the vibe going. So so okay, Vicki, I'm gonna she's good. So this was an experiment. This is the first time that we've done a Zoom like this, but I have a Zoom account and I can do this other times if it's helpful. It's a little bit awkward because the speaking and it would be better if we had a projector, but hey, it was the first time. So
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Great. Okay, thank you.
Great job.
Yeah, that worked very well. This is one of the earliest uses of
Do you want to move it over here?
Yeah. Really good.
Yes, thank you, Julia. That is very interesting. And I, for one, would like to have access, if that's okay. I thought now we would read out any homework that we've got. And after that, I'd like to ask Tom to speak. This is not prearranged, but a little bit about, because we've got new people here, a little about you, what you're doing, and you've obviously got some product.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how we're going at the time. We may or may not get the quick writing. But I'd like to hear from Tom, since we've got him here. It's special. However, let's do homework first.
Yes. You're supposed to look to the right first. Okay, well, we were to, it was about pride, the loss of something, and pride, and it was to a church. Mine didn't actually begin with the church, the power. Pride comes before the red velvet suit was gorgeous, clean in all the right places. A black lace piece, a black piece of lace hair frippery, black handbag with a smattering of red, ruby ring, sparkling earrings, solid silver bangle, definitely presentable for the great godmother of the bride. You've still got it, Shari Kittering, she muttered. Her mirrored image smiled back at her. Her eyes slowly travelled downwards, but no beautiful red shoes. Only one bandaged left foot and a black, solidly heeled right foot shoe. A minor trip on an icy step. Now bandages and a walking stick. Feet too swollen for the purchase of her life. She had raced to the local store to buy the shoes before Felicity and her other friends could see them. She would wear them now to the monthly luncheon, stun her friends with the elegance of their 8-centimetre rhinestone-studded heels and their soft fireman red leather. Time now to get to the church before the bridal party. Mother of the bride, Felicity, preened before her full-length mirror, a symphony of red and black. She was, I beg your pardon, can't read this. A symphony in red and black with the most wonderful scarlet red, rhinestone-studded, stiletto-heeled shoes. That trip to New York had been worth it. The shoes totally made the outfit. Wait until her dear friend Shari saw them. She was going to love them. Such a good friend, Shari.
I'm assuming you didn't do homework. I've already done my homework.
Can we just check anything here?
Hey Vicki, can you hear us?
Oh, hang on. You're on mute.
I could hear Madge, but I can't hear the person who's now.
Oh, she hasn't started yet, so
Oh, okay.
it's gonna be Mollie. So Mollie, can you start speaking? I'll move the computer closer, but if you can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't really want to yell.
yeah.
I'm sorry if I blast your ears out. Father Patrick Paddy O'Connell sat in the front pew of the church, staring in contemplation at the gaping hole in front of the altar. His housekeeper, Aoife, was also spread like a macabre fan next to it. But this was all his fault. His hubris, his pride made him think that this was the best place for his brother. He had been warned to keep one eye open. If his brother escaped, all hell would break loose. And for the first few years, Paddy stayed in the village, rarely venturing beyond the village limits, just in case his brother broke out. He kept vigil, visited the prison constantly. But years of activity made him grow bolder, a little more reckless. While Paddy indulged in human lust with the beautiful Aoife, his brother made his move. He should have known better. Paddy stood, looked at the crucifix above the altar, muttered an apology, and held a knife to his neck. He had enjoyed the quiet life of a parish priest over the humans. He had enjoyed the quiet life of a parish priest over the humans who came for comfort and answers and truth. As he slit his own throat, the darkness inside him rose, ready to hunt down his brother Casazar once and for all. Did you hear that one, Vicki?
Yes.
Yes.
This is about Georgette Hare. Hare continued writing until her death at age 48. Her novels were then still in print. She studied cello and piano. Georgette Hare was into a democratic slice of life. She was governed by the people. She was the action of a woman whose genre was of literary or artistic work. She decided to break down her work into the three areas, all political, and to do also with humanitarian views, of which were the values, kind and considerate. Georgette was unusual. She blurted out, "Whatever may come into my head," she said, from one escapade into another. She loves horses and going to parties. You daren't catch her eye, for fear she may start to giggle. She has no accomplishments. I never saw anyone with less dignity. She is frank to a fault, but she is a darling.
I didn't do any.
Oh, there we go. I can hear it.
Right. Sun was shining just above the hedgerow, causing eerie shadows as they crept to the side door. This door was always open, I said to myself. Grasping the ring, I turned it and click and creak seemed to travel through the graveyard. Opening the door, slipping through into the dark interior, I crept past the old shelf, the shelf of old hymn books and Bibles that had been there since I was a child. The early sun caused strange shadows, so I kept to the wall as if I had to hide. Knowing where it was, I made straight for the vicar's vestry and the cupboard where it was stored. Prizing the door open, there it was, the silver chalice, newly polished. The verger did a good job, I thought. Quickly putting it under my coat, I made my way through the shadows to the side door. Looking back, I saw the statue of Christ looking disapprovingly at me. Made me feel a bit bad for a moment. No, this is mine. My grandmother left it to me in her will. I'm only claiming what is mine. Walking down the street with the chalice cold by my side, I knew justice had been done.
No, I don't get it. Nice.
It should say, welcome back to Terry. He's been ill, haven't you, Terry? Yeah. Yeah.
You're okay now? Yeah. Okay, good. Right, well, thank you all. Good job. I always find it fascinating, the different stories that we do.
I think Mollie might want to say something.
I just don't want to interrupt. Please send it to me. This is the reason why we sent out the newsletter like this morning was because nobody sent me their homework and I had to improvise. So if you have homework, please send it in. If you haven't written it, write it and send it in.
I also forgot Vicki. You have your homework, Vicki.
Pardon?
You have homework?
Yep.
Would you like to read it out? Should we set you up in the middle?
If you want to hear it.
You can hear you.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Do you want to put it out there? Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry. Here you are, you're at the front, Vicki. To the microphone.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Now, oh,
When the two speakers go together, everybody.
right. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Can you
Go?
Yes, go.
Okay. Lani slipped into the church behind a family to avoid greeting the ushers at the door and found a seat at the far end of a pew near the back. The bridal cars had already pulled up to the curb, so she had cut her arrival time fine. The church was full of pink and white flowers, perfume, candlelight, and glamorous people speaking in hushed voices, but otherwise the quaint old building was just as she remembered. Had it really been 10 years since she'd last crossed its threshold, vowing never to return? Only for Gemma had she finally swallowed her pride and agreed to come now, just for the service. Then she'd be gone. She couldn't risk running into him. The organ played and the radiant bride appeared at the doorway. Lani smiled, and as Gemma passed the end of her pew, her gaze connected with the man in the seat across the aisle. She stiffened. He smiled. Outside in the church garden, he introduced her to his son. "We lost his mother 6 months ago," he said, and his grief eroded her defences. "I'm sorry for your loss," she offered, surprised to find that she truly was. That's it.
Well done, Vicki. Right. Now we'll hear from Tom.
Okay.
Tom is a member of whom we're all very proud.
Oh, thanks. I can only apologise. I think I've been over a year, which is really shocking. But Saturdays have become like absolute prime time. My wife has got a job and is studying, and we also got a beach house about a year and a half ago. So, which is great. But we try and get there at least once a month, if not twice a month, which means I'm rarely here. And then when I am here, Sarah and I are sort of tag teaming time with the kids so that we can do our work and things. And I've also recently started doing the market scene a little bit, trying to sell my wares at markets just to get a bit of kind of active income. to pay for the next round of illustrations, because what's been slowing me down most of them in my writing is just having the funds to publish another book. Each book's cost me probably about four grand-ish. So basically I need money, and markets are turning out to be pretty lucrative and goes pretty well. So it gives me a fast injection of cash. I'm aiming to do like 4 books a year, 1 a quarter.
Wow.
There's a bit of, I mean, these 2 were 2020. And then last year I did these 3. So if I aim for 1 a quarter, I sort of hit that 3. This one came out earlier this year, beginning of May, and I've got one that's kind of just ready to publish. So yeah, I'm just pushing through, trying to, there's a movement called 20 books for 50K. I'm halfway there, my 10th is coming out soon, so I'm just keeping going and trying so I can eventually quit the day job. And I kind of feel that with the market, and I'm just starting to think that my general angle has always been international sales, trying to hit the markets overseas. But I actually feel like in the short term, I might be better off just focusing on New Zealand. I was a teacher for 12 years, so I can do well in school visits and things like that. So I'm going to actually try and, I think that might be my quickest route to full-time authorship, if I can put in school visits with markets and book sales and things as well. And I can actually be able to surpass my current salary. So that's the plan. I got a lucky break because this guy was shortlisted for the New Zealand Book Awards for children and young adult last year, which was awesome. I mean, it just kind of puts you back on the map. My first book, Bargain Mad, won an award, and that sort of put me on the radar. And then since then, I've started self-publishing, so I kind of just been flying underneath the radar a little bit. And then this one brought me back on, which has been great. Like, just loads of things came up on account of that. I've had quite a few tours organised. I'm speaking at the Children's Writers and Illustrators Hui next month on self-publishing for children. So yeah, I've got like an hour-and-a-half workshop there, which I'm just currently trying to not panic over and plan and get ready. I'm also at the Auckland Writers Festival, which is awesome. So they've got a kids program that runs before the adult weekend, and they just ship the kids in big bus loads and fill in auditoriums. But the amount of times I spent 3 weeks planning a book launch, and there's 6 kids in the audience, 3 of whom are mine. It destroys me. So to be able to rock up and have hundreds of kids there is great. So that's I think 3 or 4 days, but you get a lanyard for the full Writers Festival. So I get to go and see all the other stuff, which is great. Unfortunately, they moved it. It was supposed to be in May, and they moved it to August. And I was already booked, I think, the first week of September or that. So just around then, the week following the Auckland Festival, I'm going down to Palmerston North, and I'm doing these storyline tours. And they're basically a charitable trust that organises. They used to put on these events and get kids to come, and no one ever came. So they decided to go the other way around. They send all these into schools. So it's my second one, and you basically just get shepherded around 15 schools in a week. So
That's the one you did last time.
yeah, last time I was in Taranaki, and this time is in Palmerston North Way. So I mean, that's great. Just kind of active audience, so it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's basically me. Just keeping on.
Slaving away.
Slaving away, yeah. And like, I'm trying to sort of be smart about it. It's like this guy here, it's a notebook. So it's basically, it's called the Joke Collector's Notebook. And so I'm using jokes from my other book, so it's no new material. So I did write a couple of like tips and tricks and delivery tips and things like that. But essentially, it's a blank book that kids fill out with their favourite jokes. So you see what I mean? I use what I've already got. I've got I'm just in negotiation with my illustrator, and we're going to put together a colouring joke book. So just basically use the illustration I've got, strip unrendered,
and then just have them for the kids to colour in and just have 5 jokes each. I mean, the main reason I'm trying to fast track that one into my schedule is because you're at the markets and it's really nice seeing parents keen to buy books for their kids, but I'm not casting my net wide enough. So you see them pushing a pram past and you're like, oh yeah, sorry, I've got nothing. Bring them back in 5 years. Whereas if I can say, yeah, I've got this colouring book with just like early jokes, here you go. So I just want to sort of start covering a few more bases. So that's the plan. And I kind of need to think about putting a picture book or 2 out and just kind of trying to get them in early and keep them. So
What's this year's book about?
this one is my 3rd collection of bonkers short stories. It's called Mix Up Mayhem, and it's basically just more just kind of random stories with different mix-ups. Like the first one called Tim Shares, about a kid who is just really tired and can't quite figure out why, and it starts piecing together that someone's using his body while he's asleep at night. And so he basically ends up sort of writing notes to him, trying to figure out who it is and why he's doing it. And
We've got one of those.
So yeah, and I'm currently working on a new series, so that's in the go. And I'm going to put out some not jokes. So I've got another joke book. So I'm joking. I'm seriously joking. And the 3rd one I think is called I Must Be Joking. And so I've written the jokes. Got a couple more to finish it off, and then that's kind of. I was going to go Q4, but I might go Q1 next year. Just take on something. Time pressure. So yeah, any questions?
Put us all to shame.
I've got bags under my eyes.
What age are the children now, Tom?
My youngest turns 5 in like 2 weeks on Independence Day. She was born Independence Day and she's been independent ever since. And I've got my middle one, Matilda, she's turning 8 on the 24th of July, 24/7. She's been 24/7 ever since. So
Is she named after that Roald Dahl?
my wife did read it whilst pregnant. So yeah, Annabella's 10. Yeah, good though. And they're loving having the beach house. It's just so nice. Go over there and just kind of. I've tried to not take work with me when I go to the beach, which is good. Or most when we go as a family. And then sometimes if either of us has a big project on the go, then we'll just go over there for the weekend, just kind of on your own, and just set up a laptop and blast it out. I had an interesting project last year. This kind of device called a Tony box is this thing for kids, and it's like they call it an audio device for three-year-olds and plus. And you just put it there, and you put these characters on top, and it tells you a story. So, like, you might get the Gruffalo, and it reads you the Gruffalo, and things like that. So it's a kind of early device for kids. And they approached a guy who I know through kind of just, he's on the joke scene in the UK, and they wanted someone to write a comedy script for an actor to read out. So he was like, yeah, no, not for me, but I know someone who might be interested, so put me in touch. And it's really good, isn't it? So I just went to the beach for the weekend and spent a weekend blasting out 4 scripts. I think it was joke, not jokes, normal jokes, pranks, and riddles. And they're like 15-minute scripts each. And yeah, I got paid like $5.5 grand for pretty much a weekend's work. So yeah, I mean, I say that I use loads of jokes that I'd already written. And I think the reason it's so perfect for me is because it's quite a lot of how to tell a joke or kind of, and I'd already done it. I've been practicing for years, so kind of I was in the perfect position. But that's cool. And so you've got these blocks now that you just put them down on the Tony box, and it reads out my script. There's a Jane Lynch, some actress, doing it. It's cool. Yeah, it's quite, yeah, it just came out the woodwork as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Is that ongoing? Will they come back to you again?
No, I think, I mean, yeah, I think they get experts for the particular thing. So, I mean, I kind of don't want to do it. I guess if they wanted jokes for older kids or something, then maybe again. But because, yeah, it went really well. It was kind of, yeah, they were happy with the product.
I read somewhere just recently, I can't think where it was, I think it was an overseas writer, and they're talking about teaching children to read and how the jokes were the best way to get them. Is there any way that you can push that in New Zealand for reading?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I do aim my books for those reluctant readers, and that's kind of where I've got into jokes, because you just see boys, that's all they want to read. Like, try and give them a chapter book, with kind of joke book. So that's kind of why I'm going that.
Might have to talk to Hipkins.
Yeah. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Tom. That's tremendous. And they're all on Amazon, are they?
Yeah, they're on Amazon. I've got a distributor nationwide as well, so they're on the bookshops here. And I sell them myself. Kind of increasingly, it's quite nice to do it myself. I'm not pushing Amazon sales at this stage. I'm in a growth period, not a sales period. So once a couple more years, and then I'll have another sales.
Good. Well, I shall look out for them.
Cool.
I've enjoyed the first couple. And I just think we've got Dolly here. Should we ask about Matamata? How they're going? Yes, well, what a good idea.
Yes, me. Sorry, do you mind if I pass this book around again? We passed it around. It's one of Terry's, but some people weren't here.
All right.
I just wanted to say Terry has, for those of you that don't know, that weren't here last time, Terry has spent several years working on these books, and you've now got a series of 4 of following on from these, haven't you, Terry? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'll just pass one round because some people missed it last time, but just to see what he has been achieving really well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Right, well, the next request, this is a request session.
Yes, it is.
Was to hear a little bit how Matamata and Dolly, if you wouldn't mind sharing as Ms. Prez of Matamata. Well, we've got about 17 people in our group at the moment. We had 25 at one stage, but we're down to 17 now because through illness and people moving and stuff like that. We meet every month, as you do, and everybody has homework. We have a choice of 4 topics plus memoir. So each month they're given this list of 4 things and a memoir, and they can write to that or write about anything they like, anything at all. And we have some quite amazing things happening. I think you shared my picture of the 2 ladies on the camels, and we did that last week ourselves, which was really funny. We got some great answers and lovely, lovely stories about camels on Brighton Beach and various other things like that. They were just absolutely delightful. Just before the COVID really hit us, we actually published a book of our group, and everybody put about 3 items in. They had a list of 3 to 4 items for every person. We had a grant for it from the Creative New Zealand, which was jolly helpful. And the book is doing very well. I should have brought a copy with me. I'm sorry I neglected to do that. I didn't expect to say anything about Matamata. Yeah, so, and it's called Right On. And one of our members is also an artist, and he did some illustrations for some of the stories and chose whatever he wanted to do himself, whichever story appealed to him. What else can I tell you? You've got published works. We have one lady in our group that won the Ashton Wiley competition, and they gave her $10,000.
Wow.
And her book was called The Path of Love. So I think it's semi-spiritual, what people would term hippie. I don't know, but anyway, she won the prize and is doing quite well. And she's working on her second book now. Her name is Avril Richardson. What else? No, I don't think anybody else has got anything happening at the moment. No, we've got a great group. Very happy, lovely atmosphere, lots of laughter, lots of fun. We look forward very, very much to being together and enthuse each other, which is what you do here. I think that makes a big difference. It's okay quietly sitting at home with a pencil and pad and trying to think up ideas. When you have other people of like mind around you, it really is very encouraging, and we spur each other on. I wouldn't miss the meetings. No.
And where do you meet?
We meet at the Heritage Room at the First Tower complex in Matamata. Have you heard about the First Tower?
No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's almost as well known as Hobbiton, almost. They had a program about it actually last Sunday on the television about the First Tower complex and the history of the area. So they have a room called the Heritage Room, and we hire that every month. So, yeah. I think that's about it, really. I can't think of anything else that would be of interest.
How many years have you been president, Dolly?
Oh, there's been a few, actually. Yeah, it has been a few.
Kept them going?
Well, I love it. I love it. And I was saying to Anne earlier, it's always a challenge to know what to do for each meeting. And I try very hard to find new things for each of our meetings. We use photographs, and we have a 15-minute write on photographs. Last month, I played a piece of music. It was actually the piece of music from Schindler's List I played, which is a very lovely piece of music. And I just played that, and I got everybody to write down the feelings that they had from listening to the music. And we did that for 10 minutes as a start. I quite often do a free write that when people first get there, they're still tied up with shopping and washing and did I lock the door and have I turned the telly off and all of that. And to get your mind back into thinking about writing and being creative, I gave 5 minutes, just sit and write. Anything, it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's did I turn the telly off, have I put the washing machine on, whatever. Just 5 minutes, just writing that, just to get your head into thinking about writing. And that is not to be shared with anybody. That's your own personal thoughts and your own personal ideas about what's going on in your mind. And that just gets you in the mood to be more creative and to do some writing. So I often do that as a beginner, as a starter, when we first all get together. And then I often bring a box with me and bring out a collection of things. It might be a glove, a torch, a daffodil, a tea bag, doesn't matter what. And I put all of those items on the table in the middle, and I say choose 3 items, and you have 15 minutes to write a story linking those 3 items, or more if you choose. And so that's the sort of things I try to do when we get our group together. And we often play games, and those silly games like, it was a dark and windy night. Then you pass it on to the next person, and they put Horace was sitting by the fire with his cocoa or whatever. And we just have a bit of fun sometimes and do those silly games, which is also very good for getting the mind working again. So that's the sort of things we like to do.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I think we might adopt 1 or 2 of those.
Feel free.
Somebody has had a play recently accepted. Have you? On the
I did have a play accepted, yes, by Play Bureau, but that was a little while ago. And I've written 10 books so far. I've got 2 of them are books of short plays, book of poetry, books of short stories. I've written 3 children's books. Yeah, so I'm keeping pretty busy. Yeah, and I love it. I love it. I've just got a busy head.
Has anyone produced the play that you?
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, the full-length play, yes, that was produced locally by the Matamata Dramatics Society, and I was the director. And what happened, the week before we opened, the leading lady was taken to hospital with heart trouble. And so I had 1 week to learn all my lines and get up there and do it. And it was said to me, oh, you won't find that difficult. You wrote all the words. And I said, well, do you remember every letter, every word for word? That's what you're asking me to do. But I did it, and we did a week of the show, and I don't think I had a prompt. I might have made a few other lines up, but I didn't have a prompt. Yeah. But no, so that's what happened. And it was very well received. So Play Bureau accepted it. There's a knock at the door. It was called. Yeah. I'll send Marge a copy if you want to have a read.
Anne's doing some wonderful productions.
Yes.
Directly at the theatre.
Yes, oh yes, I just directed Roger Hall's play Last Legs.
It was good.
And well, I think it was. I think everybody seemed to like it. You know,
I might have a look for that. I've done a Roger Hall very successful.
yeah, Last Legs is quite good. Yeah.
Does he come?
No, I forgot to invite him.
Roger tends to ask for an invitation to a library. We can you do.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Well, I wasn't sure whether it was all plays or just drive time, but he came to drive time.
Okay.
We put that on a couple of years ago.
Wonderful.
And he really appreciated it and was helpful. And,
Oh my gosh, I wish I'd known that. I would have
it's
asked him.
worth doing.
Yeah.
Right, now, where are we? We've just got time, I think, for quick right.
Quick, right? Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
we have, if we write quickly.
right, okay.
Hence the name.
Sorry.
Hence the name. Great.
Exactly.
Absolute name. Right, the quick right for today. As we celebrate another Vicki at the moment. Also, looking back on the past year,